You look at social media and you look at all these posts and, oh, I did this and it made me this amount of money. Okay, well, if we saturate the market in where you're saying you hit it out of the park and we go and do exactly what you did, it probably is not going to work anymore. It worked for you because...
Hey, so what's up, everybody? So on today's show, we have none other than Forrest Blackburn, right? Hey, man, it's an honor to have you on the show today.
Thanks, Chris.
Man, Forrest, so you're a big name. You're all over the place. Super busy guy. I'm glad you made time for us.
No, thank you for having me. I know we communicated on Instagram a little bit, and I'm glad we could put this together. Thanks for having me. I'm honored.
So you got several companies, super busy. You got a few kids, right? Not married, though.
Two boys. Just got out of the marriage, and I've got two boys, Nixon and Weston. Nixon's 10, going on 30.
Yeah.
And Weston turns 8 next week, so I'll be out in California this whole coming week.
So you started later on in life? Smart.
I did. You know, I was the same age. When I had Nixon, I was the same age as my dad was when he had me. So I kind of know what to look out for as far as milestones are concerned.
That's cool, man. Because a lot of I started having kids young, not too young. I was 21. But you know, some people are having them 15, 16, 17, 18.
Yeah.
I think if people wait, I'd say at least the early or the late 20s.
Yeah.
You kind of got your career path going. You got everything moving. You're shaking. You can handle the pressure.
I agree with you. You know, so many people. They want to hurry up and have kids.
Yeah.
And I respect that. I think that's awesome. But you have to be an adult yourself to start raising kids. And, what's the adage? You're only young once, but you can be immature your whole life. So many people don't get that maturity level. They don't hit that maturity level in their life before they bring kids in. And that can be not just a detriment for the kids, but that can be a challenge for the parent too, because they feel they're always regretting that they didn't live enough life before they had to really buckle down and take care of the kids. And then later in life, there's an explosion when they're out at the bars and the kids are 10 years old and they're trying to recount what they missed in their early 20s or late teens because they had kids early. So I always say, grow up yourself before you start to try and get somebody else to grow up.
Not only that is young adults having children, they put a lot of pressure on their parents.
Oh, yeah.
Which would be the grandparents. So now you got a young adult that's not educated enough or doesn't have enough wisdom inside them. Now the grandparents having to step up on this responsibility, carry the burden. You know what I mean?
And even in families, I mean, I always say don't do business with family. Don't
tough.
loan money to family members. And
unless you want to give it to them.
That's the thing, right? You have to be willing to part with that. But there's, within families, I mean, within any situation, but families, it's very easy to have resentment sneak in.
Yeah.
And the last thing you want is for your parents to be resenting you because you're having to lean on them to raise the kids, and you don't want the kids to have resentment towards you because they feel like they're being passed off on the grandparents. I definitely think that I'm a firm believer. Some may disagree, but we can agree to disagree. But I always say, get yourself a healthy start in life and get yourself some cement boots in your life and be an adult before you bring kids in. But a lot of people don't have the option. It can be an oops, it can be a mistake, and hey, I'm having kids, and that's the path you laid out for yourself.
I would disagree though, because I would say is we do have a choice. And some people are just making the wrong choices.
I agree.
Early on, they're making the wrong choices. They're doing what they were showed or doing what they were allowed, right? And so they're accidentally having these babies.
Yeah.
So Forrest, you're in your mid 40s.
I am. I'm 45. I just turned 45 in December.
You're from San Diego, California. Dude, I love San Diego.
Yeah.
I have a cousin lives. It's a girl cousin. And her brother and her husband over there, the kids and stuff. But I try to go out there. I love San Diego.
Oh yeah.
I don't like California politics.
Oh no.
But San Diego is super nice.
Yeah. Yeah, no, San Diego is kind of an anomaly for the state of California. You go up in Northern California, the politics get pretty sticky. Los Angeles, the politics are pretty sticky. And I will say there are so many people leaving California because of those politics.
Yeah.
And it's a detriment to not just the economy, but the real estate market, which they go hand in hand. And it's tough, man. It really is. But San Diego is a little bit more right-leaning. It's a little bit more conservative. And that's why there's growth there. That's why the shackles are off a little bit. Whereas, in Los Angeles County, San Francisco, It is tough. It's a really, really tough market. But I've done thousands of transactions in Southern California, made millions of dollars in SoCal. The spreads are there for real estate wholesale. My biggest single family residential spread was in Bel Air. It was $487,000 on one property.
Nice.
It was an $11 million property, and I sold it for 11 and a half.
She tied it up and resold it.
Well, and when you get into those higher price points, you see that the competition pool really, slows down. Yeah. There's not a lot of people with brass cojones that will step up to the plate on $11 million property.
Yeah, that's another level of fear right there.
It
and
is.
You got to be able to grab that money, have that equity partner or that line of credit or a hard money lender that can handle that.
You have to have that proof of funds so you can step into it confidently. But I also find that when you're talking to those more expensive properties in the double-digit millions, the people that bought that house, they had some business acumen and some smarts somewhere to be able to have a house that big. So the conversation you're having is much more elevated as a wholesaler and talking with that seller than it is with somebody with a $300,000 to $400,000 to $500,000 house.
They understand the give and take. There's less greed involved. Like you said, they're more educated to say, okay, let's make the deal right.
Yeah, and
it
the
becomes
buyer,
a win-win.
The buyer on that property asked me. He knew it's all in the HUD. He said, "Did you make $500,000 off of this deal?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "Good for you, man. I got what I wanted." And when you're talking money that big, they're really trading capital for a shiny trophy.
It's what they want. And if you want the phone and you're willing to pay $1,200, you're going to pay $1,200.
Yep.
If you got it for $1,000 and I have to pay $1,200, I'm still willing to pay $1,200.
You got what you wanted.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's, getting into some of those higher priced properties, there's a lot fewer competition. There's a lot less wholesalers. There's a lot less buyers that are able to tackle something like that. So you cut down on your competition pool. You have a more elevated conversation, and you can have these big spreads. But that's why I like Southern California. The big spreads from real estate standpoint.
So let's take it back a step and I want to know what it was like when you were younger, growing up. Because obviously you're super successful right now. You're doing big things. I'm sure you had bumps in the road, but like, what is it like when, what was it like you're growing up? Were you single family household, both parents? How did that look?
Yeah, no, my folks were married until they passed away. I lost them both about 4 months apart, about a year and a half ago.
Man, sorry about that.
Yeah, that was rough. That was really rough. My mom had her health was just not good for years and years. She had all kinds of ailments. And so when she passed, it was kind of past the doctor's expiration date. So we were all kind of prepared for it. And in a very odd way, it was relieving that she passed and got rid of this dilapidated body. But when my father passed away about 4 months later, it was a heart attack, and that was out of nowhere. And I got a phone call in the middle of the night. I was out here. I was staying at one of our Airbnbs, and I had back-to-back phone calls from my dad's phone. It was like 11 o'clock at night. So I figured there's something wrong. So I called the phone back, and the sheriff answered. And I hit the floor. Like, that was really rough.
Were they together when she passed?
Yeah, they were together when she passed. And unfortunately, my dad was just, messing around in the house, cleaning a closet or doing something, and had a heart attack. So,
you think he was heartbroken?
Oh, for sure. 1,000%. When you're with somebody for that many years, I think they were married for 31 years, and to lose. And as we get older, our friendship pool, our networking, it all tends to whittle down a little bit to those people that we really hold near and dear.
Yeah.
And as family members get older, they pass away. Death's a part of life. But your immediate, your top five turns into a top one or two, the older you get. And, to lose your spouse after that many years, they were both in their 70s. It's debilitating. And I definitely watched my dad go through that. So he had a heart attack. You can say he died of a broken heart. I think that's pretty on target. But growing up, I'm an only child. So it was just me and my mom and my dad. And I was an actor when I was a kid, so I was traveling back and forth from San Diego to LA.
That's cool.
Literally every day. We put 250,000 miles on the family car in about 3 years. So it was a lot of commuting.
Yeah.
And going to audition after audition after audition. I did shows on Disney. I did movies of the week. I did a lot of theater around the country in New York and Seattle and things. And but my dad was always the one driving me back and forth because of my mom's health. So I was very close with both my folks growing up. My dad was in real estate. I'm fourth generation real estate. So my dad was a developer and a broker. And so I remember being just a little kid going out to all these properties and walking properties with my dad. It was always big parcels of land. And so real estate's always been in my blood.
That's amazing. He exposed you real young.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
Imagine that. Like everything was built and designed this way.
I know. What I mean? Everything comes full circle. I mean, when I was in the entertainment business, of course, as parents do, they're always telling their kids, have a backup plan, make sure you've got, this is highly competitive. Make sure you have something. And I was headstrong and I said, nah, I don't need a plan B. My plan A is going to work out.
Yeah.
And it did to a certain extent. I was signed to Capitol Records and I toured around and had a lot of fun doing that and minor success in acting and things. But I purchased my first flip when I was 19. Nice. I had cash from doing acting and things. And so I bought that when I was 19 and I fixed it up and I held on to it for a little while. And then I did a 1031 exchange into some condominiums in Aliso Viejo in Orange County. And so I was always doing real estate. I was always taking the money that I was making and putting it into real estate, but it was never a job. It was never a front burner thing. And my dad had always said, you can go and do real estate. But to me, I thought of getting into real estate, having to, kind of pay your dues, so to speak, was to be a residential realtor and be a real estate agent.
Which sounds boring.
It doesn't. It's not only that. It's very competitive, and a lot of the realtors that I knew that were doing well, that were doing single family residential and residential real estate. And I know that probably a lot of you guys out there are going to hate me for saying this, but the ones that I dealt with seemed like glorified used car dealers. And I wanted nothing to do with being in a catty office of people fighting over deals and doing that kind of thing. So I stayed away from it. It wasn't until I got into working with Tariq Al Musa, and he had a show for 10 plus years called Flip or Flop. So everything was centered around flipping houses, which is a long cash cycle. And prior to working with Tariq, I had started a marketing company for 10 years and grew that to 50,000 clients. And it was nationwide. We had 17 franchise offices domestically, and it was a monster. So I knew marketing very well. And going in there, I said, well, we need a faster cash cycle to be able to dump money into marketing. So we pivoted into real estate wholesale. And I found out that real estate wholesale was the exact same thing that my dad had been doing for a lot of years before it was even coined a term. He would take down a property and he would sell it to an end buyer and take a spread in the middle if he wasn't developing the property himself. So I understood the giddy up pretty quick. And we started doing real estate wholesale and took the wholesale channel, which Tariq was very small in at the time because he was very flip heavy, from doing about $40,000 a month to doing over $2 million a month in assignment fees in about 5 months. And there was my cash cycle. So I would take that. I'd spend about $500,000 a month in marketing and advertising, and then we'd have about $1.5 million net left over. Which was amazing numbers. So it was fun.
You didn't go to any college, correct?
I went to Pepperdine University.
Oh, you did go to college. Okay. Maybe that's in my notes. I don't know.
Yeah, I went to Pepperdine. I've been a Christian since I was very, very young, going to Christian private schools my whole life, and Pepperdine is no different. And,
so would you get your bachelor's at Pepperdine? What'd you get?
So I majored in business and music because I was in the music business at the time. I had gotten past acting, so I started as a theater major. That's how you ended up at
Capitol Records?
Yeah. Well, in a roundabout way. I was doing acting, and I had a manager at the time who was my entertainment attorney, and he was the president of Paramount Pictures at the time. He was also the president of the Beverly Hills Bar Association. So it opened a lot of doors for me to have a lot of great meetings, and Capitol Records just kind of came about from there, and then was on the radio and toured all over the place and had a lot of fun.
So that's cool. So go back into the real estate game. So you ended up with Tariq. So obviously, he was with his ex, and they were killing it on the TV show. So were you on the TV show as well?
Yeah, I did a few stints on Flip or Flop, and then after that, there was a show called Flipping 101 with Tariq Al Musa, where I was
himself,
on
right?
that.
When he was separated already.
Yep. After the divorce.
Yeah. So did you find like that acting experience going on the shows kind of like you're like, ooh, I know this game?
In a way, I mean, reality TV is really no different than you and I sitting down and doing what we're doing right now. You know what I mean? It's just a conversation. However, there is a script involved. When you see them calling a homeowner to talk to them about the property, it was typically always me. on the other end of that phone. The producer would call and say, "Hey, we have this going on. Tarek's going to call you in a few minutes. Yeah, he's going to call you in a few minutes. You're a bit disgruntled. You won't budge on price. Your wife is the decision maker, but we're going to call you in about 2 minutes." And so we'd run through it a couple of times, a few different takes.
I know when I seen what's the guy that's in New York? He's killing the game in New York.
Brian on $1 Million Listing,
and he had an acting career as well.
Yeah,
and that's what he's and his story, like his bio, he's like that's what helped him get to that next level was his acting.
Well, it enables you to be comfortable in front of a camera and know lighting and know where you're upstaging yourself and when you're stepping out of the light and those things for sure. And it gives you that confidence too. I do a lot of keynote speaking at seminars and masterminds, kind of all over North America, really. And that a lot of people come up to me and they say, "You're so comfortable in front of people." It's like, well, I've been in front of people since I was 11 on stage. So it's kind of, second nature. And if you don't have a mic, you got to know to talk to the back row. And so there was a little bit of help there from the previous acting stuff.
That's amazing. Yeah. So you got, so some of the companies, I'm going to name them off: Forrest Blackburn LLC, Blackburn Properties, Quick Offer Homes, Paradise Misting Group, and AF Homes. Can we go down the line and say what you do with those companies?
Sure. So Forrest Blackburn LLC is really falls under my brand, and that's everything that has to do with speaking and has to do with podcasts and has to do with really anything specific to the brand. Blackburn Properties is my holding company where I have my rental portfolios, and I do some development through that company as well. And Quick Offer Homes is my wholesale arm. So we're based out of St. Louis. However, I have remote workers all over the country. So my dispositions, they're located in Miami. I've got transaction coordination in St. Louis. I've got acquisitions here in Arizona and in Las Vegas. And that's a daily meeting with everybody. It's sometimes a challenge to have remote representatives. And I get asked this question a lot. Should I scale a team in office or should I scale a team remotely? And I always say do both. But it really comes down to making sure that you're creating that ecosystem and that company culture. So if you don't have them under one roof and you're not coming in every day to greet everybody and keep that culture going, then you have to have daily recurring meetings via Zoom or Google Meet with your team members, one-on-ones, department meetings, et cetera, to make sure they're really driving.
Do you find it's more cost effective kind of outsourcing part of these deals and spreading it out rather than having this big conglomerate office? And you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, from an overhead, lights and brights standpoint, sure, you're cutting down on the need of an office and that kind of thing. You're also cutting down on Wi-Fi costs and some of that because they're load balancing using their own remote, Wi-Fi channels. Stuff, but there's also security protocols. I like with remote workers, I like sending them a company computer, sending them a company phone. That way, all the data is housed on something that I own. Having people work off of their own, their own hardware, that means that there's security leaks. They're grabbing your leads. It's in their system. And if they walk away tomorrow, they're walking away with those leads.
Totally.
And then what are you going to do? Drive to Miami every day
I totally agree with what you're saying. Yeah. And that way we use over here, I mean, obviously I'm in construction, but we have I think it's called IDM. And it basically, we can just shut down their whole computer, their laptop, their iPad, whatever they have, just
when it's done, you lock them out, and that's it. And that way, there's no look. If people are going to steal, they're going to steal. There's not much you can do about it. But what you can do is you can close all those channels down and lock it out. And and some people say, "What, you don't trust me?" No, it's not that I don't trust you. It's just that I can't single you out. I've got to be generalized with this. And I just have to be cautious because you may say that you won't steal and somebody else says that they won't steal. But then when they have the opportunity, it seems pretty enticing. So they may I don't want to give that opportunity for somebody to make a bad decision. So it's easy to cut that stuff off.
Yeah, I totally agree. A generalized system works. There's a saying, how you do anything is how you do everything. So we like to just, if it's a small project or a large project, we do it the same way.
Yeah.
The same, if it's 32 files or whatever, it don't matter. You know what I mean?
So I totally agree. Yeah, for sure.
So what's Paradise Misting?
So Paradise Misting Group came about because of all the properties that I have in my portfolio and my partner investors that they have in theirs. There's a need for adding that uptick. So if you have a lot of short-term rentals, especially here in Arizona, having misting on those properties, it keeps the temperature down. On the East Coast, where it's kind of humid, a lot of owners don't.
Oh, that's a legit like mist systems.
Yeah, they're
like water.
Yep. Yeah, so it's all proprietary. It's all proprietary hardware. It's all custom built here in the U.S. And so that goes on all the Airbnbs. properties, as well as any of the properties that I sell to end buyers. That's always an offer. The East Coast is not so susceptible to being hip to misting because of the humidity.
Yeah.
However, they have mosquitoes, they have flies, they've got spiders, and this minimizes all of the insects. Plus, if it's going to be humid anyway, you may as well lower the degree of temperature. So we not only work with houses, but we're working with restaurants. We work with commercialized facilities, similar to what you have out here. If there's an assembly line and it's going to get hot during the summer months, you don't want to have the liability of somebody, heat stroking out or something along those lines. So you bring in those misters and it cools the temperature down. So that company's been very effective in kind of greasing the wheels on a lot of different projects. It definitely enables a higher uptick on my Airbnb attendance because that they can utilize the outdoor space in the hotter months.
Yeah.
It just kind of came about because there was a need for it. So I said, well, why would I outsource this? Why don't I just do it on my own?
I built a house and the whole time I wanted to put a mist system in and I didn't do it. I wish I would have did it.
Yeah.
Right at the main
got
patio.
those do-it-yourself misting systems.
No, I
too.
wanted it to come out of the stucco and be part of the system.
Yeah.
But I totally dropped the ball on that.
Yeah. And you want to make sure that when you do go about that you have it installed and you get a warranty in place because there's all kinds of components.
No, we don't want to. We want to call you, bro.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, for sure. I got you. I got you.
So misting, that's cool. That is cool. That's in Arizona. It's kind of a necessity.
There's a big need. Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California. Nevada. Yeah. There's a big need for it in those areas. And that just kind of goes without saying. But I found that on the East Coast where there's not a lot of competition. Yeah. That's been, I guess there will be now. But that's been a big thing because they don't know that it's not going to just bring humidity to your area. It's going to minimize those pesky insects. You see on the East Coast, everyone's got screened-in porches. It's because of the mosquitoes. Yeah. So you run a misting system, and it's going to not only cool down the exterior temperature, but it's going to keep all those pesky insects away.
Kind of just they don't want to they don't want to get rained on, so to speak. So they're out.
No, that 100%. That's it. And you think about restaurants and their patio seating. If they don't just screened in, it's not very sexy, right? So having that open and having that availability means that they can, lean on their patio for occupancy in those restaurants.
Yeah, so, I like it. So what's AF Homes?
So affordable and fast. AF Homes, affordable and fast homes. So we're developing affordable housing by way of manufactured homes. Right now, I've got 2 projects going on in Mesa. One's 55 units. The other one is 44 units. And then we have 108 units going in Georgia. And then we've got a lot of one-offs depending on the density of the land in Sierra Vista and Santan.
So when you say, is this like a mobile home type?
Some of them are. Some of them are mobile communities. So we'll go in, we'll furnish the entire plot of land with as many mobile homes as we can put on there, the infrastructure, the roads, the clubhouse, et cetera, and then we'll sell that entire parcel to an entity that wants to rent those out. And then there's the subdivision route where we're purchasing land that's all zone multifamily. So if anybody out there has any land that you know of that's zone multifamily, send it my way. I will likely buy it. And we'll subdivide it out and put manufactured homes on those. So not mobile homes. These are homes that come off of an assembly line. So what's great that I've found, back to the fast cash cycle about wholesale, to be able to have marketing expense so you can put out a broad net. That's what I use real estate wholesale for. It has a fast cash cycle. You've got a broad net, and utilizing that broad net of marketing, that's where you trip and fall over your buy and holds and your flips. Yeah.
Because you're throwing it out there, and people are just throwing you leads.
Oh, all day. And you're either going to sign it if you don't want it, right? You're going to sign that contract. That's wholesale, or you're going to keep it, and you're either going to fix it and flip it, or fix it and hold it. Yeah. So if you're not holding and you're fixing and flipping, there's a lot of unknowns that come into fix and flips, right? Because you're swinging a hammer, you're managing a team that's swinging a hammer. You can guesstimate what your exit cost is going to be, but then there's those unknowns that happen. I didn't know about the foundation. That just ate me another $20K.
The underground plumbing,
right? You never know until you open it up, right? And that's once you own it, And then you've got all the juice running on construction loans or hard money costs or anything along those lines. So in keeping with trying to find something in real estate aside from just wholesale that has a fast cash churn, doing this affordable housing, you've got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,600 square foot, beautiful home, 9-foot tall ceilings. If I took you in blindfolded to one of these places and took the blindfold off and you looked around, you'd say, this is an amazing house. And if I told you it was a manufactured home, you'd tell me I was lying. They're beautiful, big cascading center islands and just beautiful new builds. And they're $300,000. and they're all HUD approved. So you've got all the federal programs to get loans on. And the beauty of it is once it's all mapped out, you come into the property and you go, I want that lot and this model. We place the order today. You're moving in 8 to 9 weeks. I work with 3 different factories nationwide, 3 different manufacturers. One of them, and just one of their factories here in Phoenix, can pump out 25 houses per day off of their assembly line.
So like these houses, so when I think of manufactured, it takes me back to like mobile home type. And you're saying it's more of a house. And then so when you say it's manufactured, are the walls already pre-done?
Yep. It's
so like,
everything's done. It goes on a truck and it comes out. And
so it's a kit. Pop, 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 pop,
yeah,
pop.
they're building the whole thing on the assembly line.
Oh, nice.
And you pick your fits, you pick your finishes.
What's the name? So look up, Antonio. Look up AF Homes. Is that the website? Do you have a website for it?
I don't think the website's live yet.
Oh, okay.
This is a new venture. This venture we just started about 6 months ago. And we've got 3 projects right now. 2 are selling right now, and then 3 projects we're in the middle of developing.
What's the floor? Is it concrete or is it wood?
You choose. So
no, like is
of the unit itself.
Is it a pad, like a concrete slab?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So it goes out. It's
very
on a slab.
similar to a house.
It absolutely is. And because you really can't tell the difference between, like you see a mobile home, you know it's a mobile home.
Oh yeah.
But from the street, if you had this in between 2 single-family residential homes, you really wouldn't be able to tell at all.
And so the walls are they wood outside or stuck on wood?
Everything's wood.
So like a siding type thing or something?
It's just like building a house.
Nice.
Yeah. So, I mean, and they go up very fast.
Because it's already done. They've been working on it for a month before or whatever.
Yeah. That's it. It's on an assembly line.
Yeah.
And it comes off the assembly line, goes on a truck, comes out. They get it affixed to everything, get it all set up, and that's it. It's ready to move in.
I love that.
So you do a lot with that. You can do coming soon, right? So you're going to list the property under coming soon, and then you get all your traction, you get your pre-orders, and then you start selling them off.
And you have a few of these areas going right now. That's so cool.
And we have another one in Georgia. We've got we're working in Denver. We've got a property we're working on in Denver right now. I have a big project that I'm trying to work on. We're in final negotiation right now. It's a big plot of land up in Cottonwood.
Nice.
And we'll be able to put about 108 manufactured homes on there and about 215 apartments on that plot of land.
Now the apartments, are you building those traditional style stick frame?
100%. Okay. And I'm partnering with a guy that'll take care of all that for me. So, I mean, I don't need to know it all, right? I just need to know who's best at it, and then I'll partner with them. I don't need to reinvent the wheel. I'll learn along the way, absolutely. I mean, knowledge is power. We can make money, we can lose money, but the knowledge that we get never goes away.
Well, yeah, you can use it for the next project or whatever.
1,000%.
That's cool because basically these small houses are about 25% below cost of their traditional home. Which makes them affordable.
It's highly affordable, and like I said, you can get these government programs for them just like you would on a traditional single-family residential. So, you've got the new build, you've got the 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms, and there's different models. They go anywhere from 1,100 feet up to 3,200 square feet.
That's a big. That's a big house.
That's a big one.
A nice house.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Now, obviously, that's going to be a little bit more expensive than the
Well, you're up
of the
to
road.
5, 6, whatever.
Yeah. You're in the 400 range on that.
Oh.
Yeah.
If you're in the 400s, that's still cheap.
Oh,
that's super cheap
for that amount of square footage and a new build with solid, solid.
I mean, you just do the math of
and,
$200 a foot. That normally it's you're at 600,000.
Yeah,
and if you're in a 4s, that's a still.
Yeah. So, and every county is open armed to getting affordable housing into their, inside their county walls. So it minimizes the amount of red tape and the kind of hoops you have to jump through. They're very open to it.
That's super, super cool.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go down the line. So you're also doing like some mentorship, some you got like your speaking engagements, like you said. What does your mentorship look like?
So
I'm curious.
Yeah, so I work with a lot of students. Most of them have companies. And I take their existing infrastructure and do a deep dive and dissect all of that. I go into their P&Ls and what they're costing for lights and brights and what they're paying their people and where their leads are coming from and their cost per lead, their cost per conversion. I really analyze a lot from a money standpoint so that I can get a good handle on how to instruct them on how to move forward. But once they have their operational costs and their SOPs lined up for their company, then it's a deep dive into their departments, making sure that acquisitions is handling leads properly, efficiently, quickly, scripting is on point, and that they have a mechanized workflow from acquisition to transaction to disposition. So it's very comprehensive and it's very intensive. I analyze a lot of their marketing channels and marketing sources. If they're doing cold calling, we're going to take a look at that and make sure that they're utilizing the best services for that. If they're doing PPC and digital marketing, making sure that they're utilizing the right keywords and utilizing negative keywords to get rid of the noise. And
what's PPC?
So pay per click.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you've got Google ads, Bing ads. A lot of people just lead into Google and do Google AdWords. And that's always going to be your number one source. However, it's also very competitive. And it's almost double the cost of Bing ads. So a lot of people overlook Bing. If you're in real estate wholesale, you understand the value of the 55 and over clientele. They are not able to fix up the house anymore on their own. Mm-hmm. They're on a fixed income, so they can't outsource that work. They know the house is getting into disrepair, and it's getting time. It's overwhelming for them to manage, so they need to sell it. Bing comes default on a lot of the Windows phones and a lot of the laptops and things like that.
Nowadays.
And they don't know how to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So when they're searching, whether they want to or not, they're searching through Bing.
Yeah.
So it's a good way to tap into that market. And if only 10 people are looking for me on Bing, why wouldn't I want all 10 of them? So
no, it's true.
Leaning into that, and your cost per click, your cost per lead's a lot lower on Bing than it is on Google.
Yeah.
But don't negate Google. Google's where the bulk of the people are. But, you're spending a little bit more because of that.
Yeah, and then you using virtual assistants, all that stuff, right?
Yeah, so I'm very delicate on VAs. Cheap work usually gets cheap results.
Oh.
So I'm delicate on outsourcing, utilizing a lot of VAs. Plus, it's very difficult to police. Because they're working for so many different companies. Typically, you're not their only client, right? So you have to be realistic and
think, are they actually doing the job?
Yeah, I'm paying for this one VA for 8 hours a day.
Yeah.
Okay. How many other of you does he have?
Dude, this is crucial information.
You don't know that.
Anybody who's going to watch this, you guys are going to learn a lot on this basic little 1 hour, hour and a half podcast, because this is like, when I hear other people talking like, get the VA, but it makes sense.
Yeah. They're
totally working for 30 other realtors
1,000%.
or real estate companies or investors or whoever they're working for.
And then how realistically trusting can you be that they're just, if you have a lead that comes in through your system you paid for and you gave it to them to handle, what if that other company pays them more to dispo the deal through them?
They're just going to
Yeah, I'll mark it dead in the system. And the reason was the guy said he didn't want to sell.
Yeah.
And then they turn around and they do the deal over here.
So how often do you lean on VAs?
I lean on VAs for data entry. That's really all I do VAs with. Everything else, I actually hire real people to do those jobs. Not real people sounds horrible, but I hire domestic people that will do the work for me, that I can have regular check-ins, that have experience.
Yeah.
And you can find experienced people on Indeed or LinkedIn or Craigslist even, but the biggest break in the clouds for me on finding good people is in your branding. If you have a good brand and you're talking to people and you have a following of people, they already understand the giddy up of what you do. They already like what you're doing, and they're part of your ecosystem. So when you put it out there that you're looking for somebody who can specialize in this and wants to learn about that, you have people, contacting you as opposed to scouring Indeed and hoping somebody clicks on your job post or maybe inviting them to send a resume. It's a different process. The best people I've found are from people that I just put out to my followers and tell them, listen, here's what I'm looking for. And oftentimes it's not them directly, it's their son or their brother, where they're like, dude, this guy right here is looking for work and you should definitely hit him up. I'll hit him up. I'll send you a DM with him and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And those are the best people that I've been able to find. But finding people with experience, it cuts down on your onboarding. It cuts down on your training. And they're less focused on how do I do this? And they're more focused on how do I make money doing what I already know.
Yeah, I agree. Like, having that experience versus the non-experience, it's worth paying someone, say, $25 versus 12, because you're most likely going to get your money's worth. And then you can train that person, especially, and like you said, is finding someone, you're putting yourself out there on social media, in the workforce or whatever, and people start to trust you.
Yeah.
The trust is gained. You're saying, hey, here's who I am, here's what I'm about, here's what I do. And then people will want to just gravitate to you, right?
Yeah.
And so if they're gravitating to you, most likely they want to learn. Some people want stuff, right? But they're going to want to learn from you. So then that's a bonus, because now you're like, I can pour into this person.
Yeah.
They're going to learn. They're going to work their butts off for the company, and in turn they get rewarded.
Yeah. You talk about pouring yourself into somebody. With VAs, it's often that we look at those as interchangeable roles, interchangeable people that, we're not going to be with forever. If they don't do well, I'll just swap them out with somebody else. So pouring yourself into a VA can be fleeting because they may not be here in a month or in 2 months or 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Whereas if you have somebody who is dedicated to you and working for your company, you can pour into them because they're really in your ecosystem. But also it comes back to what we were talking about earlier. VAs are going to have multiple bosses. They're going to have multiple companies that they're working for. So how much are they really giving you dedicated? Similarly to a lot of people will outsource their marketing to an agency. It's always my suggestion to learn about how to market enough so you know how to be dangerous, so you can manage somebody, know when they're doing well and know when they're screwing up, and then hire that position in-house. You may pay an agency $2,000 a month to manage your Google campaigns. And it may cost you $2,500 or $3,000 a month to have somebody in-house. The difference is that agency has 200 or 300 of you as clients. So how much work are they actually putting in daily or even just weekly? Most of that time is eaten up on that one phone call they give you every week to give you an update.
No, I'll give you an example. So, and it's if the person's listening, but we're doing this right now. What exactly the wrong thing to do? We're doing it. And I'll give you the example. Is we have, and it's the only way we could do this at this moment. Where we hired an outsourced CFO.
Okay.
Right. And so a lot of companies don't even have CFOs, but we said, okay, our next step is to outsource it but when we're paying X amount of dollars, just say it's $4,000 a month, whatever. Right. And it's probably 4 hours of work.
Yeah.
And I'm going to end up paying on about 6, maybe 6 to 8, somewhere in that world, to get a full-time person, which I'm going to get 50, 60 hours.
1,000%.
So
and they're dedicated to you.
We're in that transition right now. So I totally get what you're saying. It's kind of like, when you get into this marketing and producing, I made a decision. Antonio works with us full time. He's part of the family, but I was like, I got to dive into this full time because I need someone here like doing this for me all the time.
That's what it comes down to.
They learn, they grow, everything else.
You use an agency, you have no idea what they're doing outside of the time you talk to them or they get back to an email. Whereas if you hire a marketing person in-house or you hire an acquisitions person in-house or whatever, you know that they are working 8 hours a day for you and possibly even extra hours after hours on the weekends, et cetera, but they're dedicated to working for you. They don't allocate certain amount of time during, like an agency, let's say every Thursday, that's their day to reach out to prospects and get new clients for their company and grow their company. Well, they're not working for anybody on Thursday. They're working for themselves. Whereas, and then all those other hours, you're a small piece of all these other clients that they have that they've got to do work for. So how much work are you actually getting for the $2,000 a month you're paying?
Yeah, you get an hour a week.
Versus maybe you pay double that. Maybe you pay $4,000 a month to have somebody in-house. You're getting 8 hours a week plus, nights and weekends, right? And they're passionate. They're dedicated. They want to see the needle move. They believe in the company. They're loyal. They want to see the company grow. They want that feather in their cap. They want the accolade. So it may cost you a little bit more, but the amount of dedicated attention that you get is surmountable.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think more people should do that because it's what happens is you get in this game of, I only want to pay so much. Is the value there? And then, people you hear a lot of outsource this, outsource that. And I like what you're saying is bring it in because I'm kind of like that same person.
Yeah.
Like, let me manage all this.
Yeah.
Because
I hear you.
I can maximize the value and the potential, because your team, say your closer team, you can actually help them become better.
That's 100%.
Yeah. I mean, and when if you see them growing because they start saying different things kind of in line with what you're saying, you know what I mean? Yeah. And you're like, yeah.
And it creates this family vibe and they're not going to go anywhere. The thing that makes me cringe is building somebody up to be really good, and then they leave, and they go to work for somebody else with all of that learned experience that you gave them. Yeah, right. Yeah. So it's not just pouring into the people you have working for you, but then it's creating that ecosystem and that family environment. I call it being sticky to the point where they're never going to leave. They're going to be like, why would I leave? All my friends are here. They've got the greatest systems and processes. When I bring things up, they listen, they implement, and it just creates a good environment.
Yeah. So when your mentorships, you're talking to these companies, do you find the young companies, and you're mostly talking about fix and flip type companies in that real estate game, do you find like that they lack education when it comes to like the accounting, those P&L reports, the balance sheets?
Oh yeah.
right? That's where, because their downfall comes in because they're not managing the money right and they're not allocating where it should go.
Yeah.
You find that a lot.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, that's so prior to working with Tarek, prior to Tarek reaching out to me and asking me to come into the fold, I built a marketing company, started in 2009. And when I went to work with Tarek, I sold my share out of that company in 2019. So for 10 years, we did a little bit more than 50,000 websites and 24,000 apps. And we had about 50,000 customers over 10 years. I had 17 franchises domestically across the country. And so I really knew how to look at P&Ls and how to scale businesses. But even more importantly, it wasn't niche specific. It was all small and medium businesses. I was a consultant and worked for a lot of Fortune 500 and 100 companies, Travelocity, Disney Cruises, UPS, Keller Williams, 1-800-DENTIST, a lot of big companies where I synergized their sales and their marketing to grow their channels. Skechers, we grew them online by 30% with their sales, just by synergizing sales and marketing. But when I got into focusing on real estate as a front burner revenue, I realized that so many people in the real estate game have overlooked that kind of corporate layer, right? And nobody likes to say, oh, well, I'm very corporate. That's boring and structured, right? But in a business plan, in your standard operating procedures, if you don't have that structure, if your acquisitions guy is trying to help the dispositions guy do their job, and the dispositions guy is trying to help the acquisitions girl on how to do her job, if you look at the Tesla factory, you're never going to see the door guy come off the line to go help the tire guy. Because what happened to the door? And if the door guy did the tire guy's job wrong, who does Elon fire?
Yeah.
The tire guy for not doing his job, or the door guy for doing the tire job wrong? Or you got to fire them both.
Yeah.
They put a target on their back.
Yeah.
So just stay in your lane.
Yeah.
Own your role, stay in your lane, and give it 100% attention. And that's something that a lot of business owners, have an issue with, right? We all want to try and wear as many hats as possible and get things done, but we're only 100% human. So if you've got two jobs within your company and both of them deserve 100% attention, and you're just one person, the best you can do is 50 and 50. So, you know what I mean? Double down and focus on what you're best at and give it 100%. And then find somebody really good to fulfill that other job to give it 100%, because your company deserves to have all cylinders getting 100% attention and 100% drive.
Yeah. Do you feel like in today's world, today's time, there's a lot of these young entrepreneurs or young adults or whatever they call themselves, whoever, that they don't put enough time and attention to one thing. And they kind of move from this industry to that industry. And
it's SOS. It's shiny object syndrome all day long. You look at social media and you look at all these posts and I did this and it made me this amount of money. Okay, well, if we saturate the market in where you're saying you hit it out of the park and we go and do exactly what you did, it probably is not going to work anymore. It worked for you because no one was doing it. And now if everybody goes and does that, it's going to take a lot of the sparkle out of it. So really owning what your business plan is, having a business plan set up, having that kind of corporate layer where everybody has a job and that's all that they need to focus on.
Yeah.
Don't worry about what this guy over here is doing. Don't worry about what she's doing over there. Just worry about yourself.
Yeah.
Just focus on your job and give it at least 100%, because that's what the role deserves. That's what it requires. And for you to prevail in that role and make the most amount of money out of that role, you have to give it 110%, to do that. But yeah, so many people just don't have that structure. And it sounds boring and some people are scared of it, but it has to be there. It has to be necessary. You have to be watching your P&L. You have to be watching your expenses. You have to know, so many people, I call them vampires in the system.
Yeah.
I'll have them send me over their bills. And I go through it and I go, do you know what this is right here? It's been billing you every month for the last 18 months. Do you know what this bill is right here? It's only $19, but you know what it is?
Yeah.
I have no idea. I don't think we've ever used that. I think maybe we used it once and we had to sign up for it. Now it's, okay, so there's $20.
Yeah.
And you go through the stuff, and right off the bat, I try to pull that lever and get rid of all the vampires in the system.
Waste.
Because all of a sudden you're like, holy crap, I didn't know that I had an extra $1,500. What do we do with that? Well, we're going to put it into marketing. It doesn't just come down to upping your lead flow. I don't care about volume of leads. I care about quality of leads. So if I'm going to spend an extra $1,500 a month, let's just say on Google Ads, it's not necessarily that I'm trying to get more leads. I'm trying to tap into the more expensive leads that are more of a laydown.
Yeah.
So if I'm getting 10 leads a day, And now I've got an extra $1,500 to spend. I may not get 12 leads a day. I may only get 8 leads a day. My lead flow may go down, but the quality of that lead, because it's a more expensive lead, I'll put that money into there to get better quality. I would rather have 2 leads a week that are both laydowns than 200 leads a week to go to sift through that to find 2 deals.
Yeah, quality over quantity
all day.
That's how I'm looking at life right now. It's it's even in hiring. I tell our team, like, you know what, let's slow down on hiring. Team members, whatever, unless they're like a leader.
Mm-hmm.
And then like we're looking for an estimator right now, and I have a lot of people sending resumes, but they're sub. So I'm just holding out till the quality comes in.
Absolutely,
that's all I want is like. And they don't necessarily have to be the best at that, but the quality means they meet all these criteria.
Yeah, 100%.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I totally agree with what you're saying. I wish more people lived that way and ran their businesses that way. And what happens is we as human beings get so anxious that we start going so fast and we start making these decisions that cost us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then they go for that quantity. And then little by little, the quality starts dropping.
Yeah.
And next, you know, you have a mess in your hands.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I was out in Miami a few months ago, hanging out with Grant Cardone, and Grant said something very poignant. He said, "Quality is always less expensive in the end."
Yeah.
So when you lean into quality, it may cost you a little bit more now, but you have to. How do I say this? So many people get so focused on the dollar amount. And that's hard cost, but you have to factor in and never forget about opportunity cost.
Mm-hmm.
So if I hired an acquisitions team member and they were decent, but they were way cheaper on a monthly salary basis than that other person over there, all I'm thinking about is my hard cost. What I'm not thinking about is the opportunity cost. This lower level person may not be able to smell a good opportunity when it comes up. So we lost that. It could have been a $30,000 spread, but they didn't know it. They didn't recognize it. So we actually lost a $30,000 opportunity by shaving $1,000 off of a salary. Whereas if I'd have picked that person, spent the extra $1,000, they maybe would have found me 2 or 3 $30,000 deals.
Yeah.
So it's not just the hard cost. You got to factor in your opportunity cost. And if you're trying to pinch pennies on good people, then you have to start analyzing what your missed opportunities could have been and what that opportunity cost was.
Yeah, because if they slow you down, it's. I'll give you another analogy of me. I've made a lot of mistakes recently just because we grew so much, and I thought I was big shit. And so I'll tell you one is I built this nice house, right?
Huh?
And I spent too much time on the house, less time on business.
Yeah.
Right? That's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
And Grant Cardone speaks like it's like religion to him. He talks about the properties he always buys.
Mm-hmm.
The A+ properties, because it's quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
He knows, he says it's in the end it's going to pay off.
Yeah. No, for sure. For sure. He was just out here again about 2 weeks ago. We did a big podcast at our studio in Tempe at our compound, at the Clever Investor compound. So Cody Sperber, the Clever Investor, he and I have been partnered for about 2 years now, and I manage Clever Investor, the mentorship program, and all of our students and all of our curriculum. And over the last 18 years, Cody's had about 38,000 students there. But, we have a few thousand students now, and they're constantly coming in. We're constantly bettering the curriculum and leaning into those students. So that's a big part of my focus too. But long story short, about 2 weeks ago, Grant was in to film another podcast there, and we got to hang out and see each other again. But he's such a smart dude when it comes to investing. And his thing is buy and hold. Mm-hmm. And, you're going to watch that equity go through the roof. And, pulling that equity out later is debt. You're not paying taxes on that. You can roll it over and do it again and again and again and again.
Totally.
So he's a very smart dude when it comes to that. And, he's just a smart dude in general. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think he got smart by doing it over and over and over, putting himself out there, trying, right? I think that's what holds some of us back is that fear.
Yeah.
He got over the fear of failure because he failed.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing, we celebrate our wins and we learn from our losses. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. So if you're not failing, you're not learning, to be perfectly honest. And nobody likes failure. However, if you look at everything as a silver lining, as I do, you gain a lot of knowledge from failure. And so it's never a loss. It's a win in the aspect that you just gained valuable information. It's like when we're kids, you don't touch the hot plate. And you learn by touching the hot plate. You never do it again,
Get
right?
The burn blister there.
So, it's the same thing in any business, in any relationship, whether it's personal or business. We learn from our mistakes.
Yeah.
And that's what really betters us as human beings, as business people. So I'm never fearful to split test and try different things. Tarek came to me one time and he said, so I think we're going to get a lot of traction on Snapchat and TikTok. I said, okay, this was about 2.5, 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And TikTok is just hitting just coming out. And Snapchat had been around for just a second. And I said, well, we can take 6 months to get studyable data and spend slow, or we can spend heavy and get studyable data in 3 months and figure out if it works or not.
Yeah.
So we decided to spend $90K a month for 3 months. So we threw $90K a month for 3 months at Snapchat and TikTok. And although I got some good agent relationships out of it, I found out very quickly that 12-year-olds doing the floss dance don't have a house to sell.
Yeah.
So
that was
not a lot of leads there.
Yeah, that's when it was dancing only.
Yeah.
And like funny, now it's business.
Now
everything.
it's entirely different.
Yeah, it's everything now.
Yeah. Now it's an entirely different animal. But at that time, we learned very quickly. But you have to be willing to invest money into an education to figure out if it wins or if it loses. And if you find out that it wins, you just cracked a code, and you're gonna want to lean on that and make some money.
Well, especially in the social media world, because you have all these platforms, and I know for us is as we're growing this platform, our own platform, like say YouTube versus an Instagram versus TikTok, each one performs differently.
Oh yeah,
it's kind of almost a different audience. And they perform differently.
It's a slightly different audience. They have different trigger points, different tap targets. There's all kinds of stuff that rolls into it. And again, if you know enough about that to be dangerous, then that's when you're in a position to hire somebody to run it for you, because you can monitor them. And always, always, always make sure, if you're ever working with somebody in marketing, that they are working inside of your accounts. There's a lot of marketing companies out there that will work in their own Google Ads account and then send you those leads. Well, that's very valuable data to find out, split testing what's working and what isn't. And if it's in their account, they own all of that. So if you part ways, you don't have an account to run tomorrow with all that learned data.
It's like hiring an IT guy. You ever hire an IT company? They want everything in their, and then if they shut you down, they shut you down.
Yeah, that's it. So if it's all within your own accounts and you know enough to be dangerous on management, then you have somebody run it for you. If they mess up or you're not happy with their work, you can remove them and move somebody else right into that chair.
Yeah.
And it's still your account.
Yeah.
So, you don't skip a beat.
Yeah.
So always making sure you have ownership of all that stuff. Don't work with companies that just work in their own accounts and, we'll set you up with a TikTok account and we'll do everything in that TikTok account.
Yeah, I'm sure you will, buddy.
Yeah. And then you're going to hold me hostage.
That's right.
You know what I mean? And
they're going to want that last payment.
Of course.
After they screwed everything up.
Yeah. And I'm not going to release my account to you until you pay this or pay that, or, when we part ways, we keep the account. And it shouldn't be that way.
That happens a lot with websites too.
Yeah.
A lot of websites are the same way. My mother-in-law got hers closed out. She had a jewelry company. Yeah. And they just stopped. Yeah. Shut it down.
Well, that's the thing too. When I had my marketing company, we ended up building 99% of the websites that we did on WordPress. We built them on WordPress for everybody because it's easy to edit. Yeah. And they can host them wherever they want. Right? You actually own those files. You can upload them to any server that you want to. It's those folks that do websites on Weebly or Wix or even GoDaddy, where they're these site builders. Yeah. That if Wix or Weebly were to go away, so did your site. You have no ownership. You can't download a Wix site and go upload it into anywhere but Wix. Yep. So all the work you did, maybe you hired people, maybe you paid people to design your Wix website and do SEO on your Wix website, programming all the back end so the search engines know what it's all about. You don't own any of it. You're renting it. Yeah. That's like, I kind of equate it to putting 24-inch rims on a rental car. I've got this rental car for the weekend. I'm going to go out and get the windows tinted and put some sick rims on there. Don't you give it back on Monday? Yeah, but it's going to look good. Yeah, but it's just wasted money. It's the same thing with these rental websites. So when you're getting a website done, make sure you own those files. Make sure you could host them anywhere you want. whether you're going to host it at GoDaddy or host it at Bluefin or any of these hosting companies, Cloudflare, that you have ownership of those files.
Yeah, having ownership of your systems or whatever it is you're doing it's crucial. That's one thing we do is I make sure our IT people, they had to. I made them let me open all the accounts.
Yeah.
Through Microsoft.
That's what you have to do. Then that way you have ownership of everything.
And I said, I'll pay you. It's fine. I need everything. You walk away. So they actually open up all we have a lot of Microsoft stuff for our business, and everything's in my name.
Yeah.
Everything.
Smart.
It's through them.
Yeah.
They get the sale, they get the deal, they get everything, but everything's in my name.
Yeah. That's the way it has to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. All of these things are assets. And if you're going to invest time, which is money, but if you're going to hire somebody to work on it, all these investments that you're doing, it better be into something that is an asset for your business and growing your business. Because if future you wants to sell your business, and I'm the buyer, and I come in and go, great, so the website comes with it, and you're like, well, the URL, but the website's on Wix, so I don't know how to do that. There's really nothing I own. Yeah, price just went down.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So your CRM and all these systems that you have going on, do you own any of that? No. Okay, price just went down.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
We own.
Now I'm just buying your book of business and maybe your logo.
Yeah, all of my software we've bought in on-premise style. If you know what on-premise versus cloud, everything's on-premise. Most of my vehicles are owned. The website's WordPress.
Yeah,
same thing.
Yep.
Yeah, I totally believe in it. I think more people, everybody's sold by cloud-based this, cloud-based that. It's easy to get to.
Sure.
But it's easy to shut off too.
It is 100%. You set it up on auto payment and that credit card expires.
You shut off.
And you're going, where's my website? They go, well, you haven't paid it in 3 months because it looks like that credit card expired. You didn't even know. And you're saying, well, here's a payment. Can you resurrect my website? And they're like, nah, it got flushed. You got to start over again. I guess I learned my lesson. I'm not going to start over with you. I'm going to go build my own site.
Meanwhile, you're shut down for a few months.
Oh, yeah. No, you're out of
commission.
commission.
No one knows who you are, where you're at. You know what I mean?
It kills your productivity, kills your credibility.
Yeah.
It can be a real detriment. So word to the wise, make sure anything that you're doing, whether it's ad campaigns, whether it's social media setup, anything, make sure that you have ownership of files, ownership of the account login. Totally. Make sure it's yours.
Yeah. Yeah. So listen, did you let's go on a different topic. I want to talk some fun stuff now. This is good content, man. You're sharp, especially in the real estate game.
Thanks, dude.
Did you watch the Super Bowl?
I did.
What'd you think?
It was pretty boring up until we got into the second half, but I had a feeling I had some people over to the house.
Yeah, because you're in California. Were you going Niners?
No, I was going Chiefs.
Okay, that's why I was born for you. You get whooped.
Yeah, no, I went Chiefs. For some reason, I've never been a big 49ers fan, just similarly to Cowboys.
Yeah, big name.
But I was born in San Diego, so I'm Chargers are always my team now that they're in LA. No, my drummer, when I was signed to Capitol and toured around, my drummer is from Kansas City. Nice. And so he's a big Chiefs fan. And so that always stuck with me. And every time they play, I'm texting him, and it kind of gives us a reason to stay in contact.
All right.
But I was happy to see the Chiefs. Mahomes pulling it out there at the end is so indicative of Mahomes. I mean, I don't see that the kid loses.
Man.
He's yeah. So going right after halftime, we were all kind of had a general consensus. This is going to go into OT.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it just worked out that way. And then Mahomes, pulling it out.
He's so good.
Yeah.
So I was going for the Niners, and the reason why I was just going for Purdy because he was the
Purdy was the underdog.
Creek. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was still young. This is good for him. But the guy who really impressed me the most in the whole game was McCaffrey.
Yeah. No, me too.
Oh my God, dude! He was playing and playing so tired. You could see him
full out.
Dude, you could see him barely getting up, and he would just go and play again and go for another. I'm like, oh my God! Then he went out for like a second, remember?
Yep.
And then he came back in.
And then he came in.
I was like, this guy's an animal.
I was like, these kids are so exhausted. They just played full out for 4 quarters, and now we're going to go into OT. Better them than me. I would have been out there just. Give me a minute.
Yeah, I'm out.
Guys, bring me something. I can't do it anymore. Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Now, McCaffrey and Mahomes, those two guys were the shining stars on both sides.
Yeah, for sure.
I thought it was cool. I thought it was a good game. See the commercials, the fun commercials.
Oh yeah, that's always one of the greatest things about Super Bowl is the commercials. Although I would say that I don't think that the commercials this Super Bowl were as crazy or outlandish as some of previous Super Bowls.
They sucked.
Yeah. But that's, it's always fun. And the halftime shows are always, always fun. Usher and who was it? Alicia Keys and Lil Jon and Ludacris. So Ludacris, he just did. We hired him to do our Clever Investor Avengers Mastermind. He came in and he was the talent for the for our. There's only about 100 of us, and he did a show for us for about an hour, and a half. I was this far away from him, and he's on stage and doing it. I think we're bringing him back again. But yeah, we've had some pretty cool people. 2 Chainz and Luda and I can't remember any of the other names right now. But yeah, it's always a fun time.
Yeah. So what do you think? What's going on? Like with are you paying attention to any world news or?
Yeah, you know what? I mean,
I
always keep my nose in it as much as possible. But as I've been increasingly busy here the first quarter of the year, I haven't really been able to pay too much attention. But I grew up in a political family. My aunt was head of the House Ways and Means Committee for 14 years in Congress, and my uncle was a senator. So Easter and Thanksgiving dinners were always very interesting and colorful conversations to hear about what's going on.
A lot of banter.
Yeah, a lot of interesting high level inside stuff. But yeah, I grew up in a very politically charged family.
What do you think? What are you allowed to give your opinion?
Oh yeah, no.
What do you think? What do you think we're headed? What do you think's going to happen? Like you have people are still going for Biden. People hate Biden. People hate Trump. Then you got all these weird policies happening. You got the border stuff. You got all this craziness. Yeah. Like, what's your opinion on how? Like, my opinion on voting in politics is like, vote for the policies you want to affect your life and your children's children. Yeah. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
And it leads more towards capitalism, right? More towards America first.
Yep.
But what's your thought on some of that stuff?
No, it sounds like we see eye to eye.
Yeah.
I think Biden has been a colossal failure. And I think that there's a healthy sum of smart people that could have said, or that are saying, I told you so. Love him or hate him as far as Trump is concerned. What I do like about Trump is that he is a devout businessman and he understands business. And at the end of the day, the president of the country is also the CEO of the company. And if you have just a politician in there that's used to showing up or not showing up, to be honest, for voting, and they're just there to shake hands and kiss babies and do the screen time, they don't really understand the inner workings of the business. It's all politically charged, but there's no real business. And everything in this country is founded on is a business document. Yeah, they're all business documents. They're all contracts. They're all documents.
It's an agreement.
That's what it is. And so, if you don't have a good foundation of business, I don't see how why the presidency should be the time you learn. And so many politicians are swayed by who bought their votes and who endorsed them, and the one thing I've always liked about Trump is he didn't even take a paycheck being president. Yeah, you can't really buy the guy. He'll just give you the middle finger and say, no, I'm going to do it my way. And he's not always going to do everything right. He's human. He's going to make mistakes. He's going to be human. Yeah. Yes, he speaks out of turn a lot, and he should probably learn to button his lips sometimes. And his Twitter account may need to be monitored a little bit so he doesn't go off the rails. But at the same time, that's what this country was founded on, and we should never forget that freedom of speech. Yeah. It's okay if somebody says something and you don't agree with it. We can agree to disagree. It doesn't mean that you can't have your opinion and give it to me, or you can't say something because I'm going to be offended by it. And there's a lot of politically charged people right now that are saying, well, you can't say that because it offends me, and that goes against the very moral fabric of our country, that I can say whatever I want, and if it offends you, you have to, because of our country, you have to allow me to say that. And if you don't like it, then you give it back to me, and we can have an open dialogue and an open discussion about it. Yeah. But shutting people down on their opinions or saying things is, I guess, the definition of fascism. And there's a lot of people calling fascism that are fascists, right? So it's an interesting dichotomy. But I don't see Biden winning this next election.
I hope not.
No way.
Yeah.
Even if he runs himself. Now, there's a lot of scuttlebutt going on right now because Barack Obama actually made a play to get all the paperwork in line for Michelle to run. And they're saying that right before the Democratic convention that they're going to pull Biden and suggest her.
And Gavin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you get Newsom in there, like, so Newsom is the nephew of Nancy Pelosi.
Yeah.
So they've got San Francisco on lockdown. Like
Kamala was part of that too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. So it's it'll be very interesting to see how that shakes everything up and how the simple-minded folks will vote. But like you said, you've got to vote on things that you feel are going to better your policies. And the nice thing is looking at track records and looking at, success stories, wins and failures. And Michelle doesn't have any of those. Michelle Obama doesn't have any,
No, her husband does, not her. She was,
Right.
yeah, I'm sure she traveled and she was an ambassador and all that
Sure.
stuff.
But she was more along for the ride than
she doesn't.
than
She
anything.
doesn't have the experience.
No.
And that would be just a play to try to win a vote.
And then you look at Newsom's track record.
Oh, he's terrible.
And, what he's done to California. The rest of the country is going to be like, no.
Well, that's what's happening. It's starting to happen. And I think there's one thing you could look at is, and this people are like, what the hell are you talking about, Chris? Because we'll get the hate anyways. Is well, we talked about business and leadership, but now we're talking about politics. So, you look at Disney.
Oh yeah.
So all you have to do is look at Disney. Disney is the Democratic Party. Disney is California, right? And so Disney has been this plummeting because they changed the way they're doing things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And they started interjecting these ideologies.
Yeah.
And and people are like, oh, it's cool. Yeah, let's do this. Let's do that. And then the family starts saying, well, shit. My daughter's starting to change here. My son's starting to change.
Yeah. The mindset's shifting.
They're starting to look a little different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then or the ones that are saying, man, I want to protect my daughter and my son because this creeper is going into their restroom or joined their team that shouldn't be on their team.
I know.
You know what I mean? And so a normal person, the normal people are like, this is BS. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when it's kind of like, like think about immigration. And so you think about, so I was telling someone, I go, think about this. They're like, well, what's wrong with all the people coming in? I'm like, well, open your front door and go ahead and let everyone in.
Yeah.
And then show them where the refrigerator is and just stock the fridge every day.
I use the same analogy, but I use it as a nightclub.
Yeah.
If you were a nightclub owner and you know that everybody has to have documentation that they're 21 to get in, but then you just said, screw it, I'm just going to let everybody in. How quickly are you going to get shut down? How quickly is there going to be an overdose or a fight or things because you just opened it up and didn't run through the paces?
Quick.
So everybody's welcome here, but there is a process. That's it. That's all.
Yeah, there's a process.
That's it. And I have, my best friend, he's first generation here. His family are from Guatemala. And we have this conversation all the time. He's LAPD. And so, everybody, the vast majority of LAPD are Hispanic. And they talk about this all the time. My family went through the paces and did everything. So why should you just have to skip that process? And we're going to be okay with it.
Well, it's no different than filling out an application for a job or anything. You're in line.
It's it. That's all it is.
Whatever it is, you're in line. So I got a felony when I was 19. I committed the crime when I was 18, whatever. And so all my rights I got taken away. Right. They're still I got my rights back, but I still have the felony on my record.
Right.
Right. And so I remember when I was younger and I didn't have the right, I had no rights and I had the felony. I couldn't move into an apartment.
Yeah, that's a challenge.
Yeah, there was a lot of things I couldn't do, right? And I would tell, especially early on in the construction, I would tell some of the Mexican guys, from Mexico, I'd be like, you guys have more rights than me. I'm an American and I can't do shit.
Yeah.
It's and I look at it today, I'm like, holy crap, this is times 1,000.
Yeah.
Where you have normal people that are working their butts off, made a mistake or two, they're getting held down.
Yep.
Right. But then you have other people that are just throwing out, New York, 50 something $50 million program or billion. And the program, the pilot's for 500 families, which gives I think it's $500,000 to a family. That's the pilot program.
Yeah.
And it's like, come on, guys, use the money and create a program, get them in legally, educate them.
Yeah.
If you want to do it, educate everybody, get them in, fingerprint them.
Yeah.
If they don't have a good name, give them a name. Like back in Ellis Island, they would give them names.
Right. Correct.
They would if they didn't know how to spell a last name, they like kind of pronounced it, spelt it. That's why we got all kinds of last names with different spellings.
Sure.
Like, go back to that.
Yeah.
But don't just freaking open the floodgates.
Well, there has to be a certain amount of accountability for security. You look over in Europe, and there's a lot of freedom to travel there, and they're not monitoring certain passports and certain things, and that poses a real global issue to be able to understand how to keep your country secure, how to keep everything safe. And with everything so easy to be shipped and all this kind of stuff, it's so easy for terrorism to happen and people to sneak things in here and there, and it's unfortunate that we have to be so generalized, because I understand that it's such a small amount of the population that are nefarious, but who are they?
Well, that's the
you
problem.
don't know if you're
They're
not
mixed
tracking.
in. Yeah, it's
so
mixed in.
You have to keep it generalized so that you can again, back to the bar. Somebody shows up and they have a fake ID. Well, the bouncer's trained to see that that's a fake ID, and you're out.
Yeah.
Right.
But now he's really on edge and checking everyone's like even harder.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's good business practice. You don't want fights. You don't want overdoses.
You want
in
to
your
protect
bar.
the rest of the people inside that building.
You have to protect the rest of the people, and you have to protect the bar itself, or there won't be any place to congregate.
Yeah.
So just like we're protecting the country, just like we're protecting the citizens of the country, it just has to be that way. And it's if you have a problem with it, then I assume you have something to hide.
Yeah. Well, it's true. And like and then I was thinking about so guns, right? So I'm pro gun. I'm big time pro gun. I got my rights back. I got my gun. I got all these rights back, so I can carry a gun, purchase a gun.
Yep.
I have concealed card, everything. So I was thinking, I was like, man, imagine like you always hear people like, especially the hardcore Republicans, which I'm cool with, but they're little extremists, which they're cool.
Yep.
But they talk a lot about guns, and I like to hear about guns. But so think about, you hear like these stories of maybe the government's going to take your gun rights, come get your guns, all these things, right?
Yeah.
So say that happens, okay? I have registered guns to my name. They know where to come get them.
Yep.
Because
They followed the rules.
They have my information.
Yeah.
But the other people,
Yeah,
whoever else is that they don't have their information, whoever that other person is, whether it's Asian, Mexican, wherever they're from, African,
it doesn't matter.
If they don't have their information, they're never going to get anything from them.
Correct.
But basically, what if that were to happen, is they would go to every American, take everything from them, and every non-American, which is non-American, just means you're an immigrant,
right.
You didn't. I think you're American once you become a citizen.
Sure.
But every non-American basically has the freedom and the rights that we did have before.
Correct. And then they're armed, and we're not.
Yes, they take the rights, and we lose the rights.
Yeah.
That's why everyone's so up in a roar. It's like we want our rights.
Yeah. No, I hear you.
So
yeah. No, there's we could go on and on about.
I know,
but it's scary to think, where we've come and then potentially where we're going to be going. And that's why, having accountability and having those things in play are, again, back to a business. Having that standard operating procedure, having those lanes and those rules and everything identified. It's like in sales. Here's the script, stick to the script.
Yeah.
Right. That's what I know works, and that's what's going to make us all a lot of money. It's the same thing in running a country. You have to have ironclad processes and procedures in place. And if they're not followed, then that's when things get derailed, and that's when chaos ensues.
So I love it. So I appreciate you coming on the show, Forrest.
Yeah,
and anybody wants to follow you, where do they follow you at?
You can go to forrestblackburn.com and hit me up through there. All my resources and everything for tools and leads and everything is there. You can also hit me up there for mentoring. And if you want to follow me, it's Forrest Blackburn, 2 R's in Forrest, Blackburn, Blackburn, anywhere on social. So Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, you name it, I'm out there.
So if you guys want to learn more about, the investing game in the real estate market, Follow this guy and follow us, like and subscribe to everything we're doing. Be blessed.